Okay, hello everybody. I hope everybody's doing amazing today. We are officially in the second half of the year, and I hope everybody's still as fired up as they were when the year started. But even if you're not, I just don't want anybody to give up and think, oh, I haven't achieved anything. Guys, we have time. Trust me, we have time. But also, we just have to put in the work. What I found interesting this year has been the books that I've been reading. They have changed my life completely. And I think if you have been watching my videos, you would have found some of the chapters that I thought were beautiful, that I thought were life-changing, that I thought you would get a certain type of knowledge from. So my biggest wish for anybody is pick up a book. Pick up a book and read. Learn something. Try to be a person who's knowledgeable, but also try to be a person who finds different perspectives to things, because it makes it easier for us to be able to navigate life when certain problem arises. Sometimes, like I'm telling you, a lot of times when I've been in a situation that is kind of new to me, sometimes I always find myself referencing books that I have read or things that I have heard other people say. So what I'm trying to say is it's very important for you to be knowledgeable. But also, I hope you guys have an amazing rest of the year, guys. I hope you achieve all the things that you want to achieve. But I don't want anybody to be hard on themselves. We have time, okay? We have time. And also you must look at life in abundance. Don't ever feel like you're running out. So understand that you have abundance of time. You have abundance of everything in the world, so that you do not put pressure on. Guys, I cannot work when I'm under pressure. I cannot function when I'm under pressure. I cannot do anything literally when I'm under pressure. So try to alleviate that pressure off your shoulders and off your life, and just try to look at life in a positive light. Because life is positive, life is beautiful. Like, life is the most beautiful thing, even with its ups and downs, problems and good things. Problems are good. Problems are actually very good. So life is a beautiful thing, and I need everybody to look at life that way, with all its bad and good. Okay, I'm currently reading this book, Atomic Habits. All right. Okay, ever since the year started, I've been reading more like autobiographies, personal books, stuff like that, personal development books, which are not really technical, right? Atomic Books is a really technical book, but not in a bad way. I remember after I got it as a gift, I opened it and I started seeing diagrams, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna hate this book. I'm really going to hate this book. But when I started reading it, I realized just what a beautiful book it is. And it speaks about life holistically, and it makes your life actually easier in understanding that habits are important, number one, but also how to deal with the habits. Like, it's one thing for somebody to tell you that, oh, you have a very bad habit of eating junk the whole day, and not tell you how to fix it, or not give you a way in which it's sustainable for you, because somebody saying stop junk food is generally not going to help you stop junk food. So I think this book then helps you deal with the habits that you don't like, but also create more habits that are good for you in smallest changes in your life, because the most difficult thing that we come across is wanting to attain things at a bigger scale, and that's really not sustainable, because it's not possible to wake up and then just say, oh, I'm going to start drinking water. I've been saying that for like, I don't know how long, and I struggle to drink water. You guys, I struggle until I read Atomic Habits. And the one thing they told me was, put bottles of water around. Make drinking water look attractive. And I'm telling you, like, this week I have drank so much water than I've ever drank in my whole life. So I must say, the chapters that I read, I put them to test first before I tell you. And I'm telling you that this book is the book that you have to get your hands on. Okay, cool. I'm done talking. Let's get to the chapter that I want to read, right? It's literally at the beginning. of the first law, which is make it obvious, right? The first law of creating this atomic habits is make it obvious. So I'm going to read a chapter. It's a very small little chapter, but I think it's the best position for us to start. Okay, it's chapter 4, and it says, the men who didn't look right. The psychologist Gary Klein once told me a story about a woman who attended a family gathering. She had spent years working as a paramedic, and upon arriving at the event, took one look at her father-in-law and got very concerned. "I don't like the way you look," she said. Her father-in-law, who was feeling perfectly fine, jokingly replied, "Well, I don't like your looks either." "No," she insisted. "You need to go to the hospital now." A few hours later, the man was undergoing life-saving surgery after an examination had revealed that he had a blockage to a major artery and was at immediate risk of a heart attack. Without his daughter-in-law's intuition, he could have died. What did the paramedic see? How did she predict his impending heart attack? When major arteries are obstructed, the body focuses on sending blood to critical organs and away from peripheral locations near the surface of the skin. The result is a change in the pattern of distribution of blood in the face. After many years of working with people with heart failure, the woman had unknowingly developed the ability to recognize this pattern on sight. She couldn't explain what it was that she noticed in her father-in-law's face, but she knew something was wrong. Similar stories exist in other fields. For example, military analysts can identify which blip on a radar screen is an enemy missile and which one is a plane from their own fleet, even though they are traveling at the same speed, flying at the same altitude, and look identical on radar in nearly every respect. During the Gulf War, Lieutenant Commander Michael Riley saved an entire battleship when he ordered a missile down short. Despite the fact that it looked exactly like the battleship's own planes on radar, he made the right call, but even his superior officers couldn't explain how he did it. Museum curators have been known to discern the difference between an authentic piece of art and an expertly produced counterfeit, even though they can't tell you precisely which details tip them off. Experienced radiologists can look at a brain scan and predict the area where a stroke will develop before any obvious signs are visible to the untrained eye. I've even heard of hairdressers noticing whether a client is pregnant based only on the feel of their hair. The brain is a prediction machine. It is continuously taking in your surroundings and analyzing the information it comes across. Whenever you experience something repeatedly, like a paramedic seeing the face of a heart attack patient or a military analyst seeing a missile on a radar screen, your brain begins noticing what is important, sorting through the details and highlighting the relevant cues and cataloging that information for future use. With enough practice, you can pick up on the cues that predict certain outcomes without consciously thinking about it. Automatically, your brain encodes the lessons learned through experience. We can't always explain what it is we are learning, but learning is happening all along the way, and your ability to notice the relevant cues in a given situation is the foundation of every habit you have. We understand how much our brains and bodies can do without thinking. You do not tell your hair to grow, your heart to pump, your lungs to breathe, or your stomach to digest, and yet your body handles all this and more on autopilot. You are more than your conscious self. Consider hunger. How do you know when you're hungry? You don't necessarily have to see a cookie on the counter to realize that it is time to eat. Appetite and hunger are governed non-consciously. Your body has a variety of feedback loops that gradually alert you when it is time to eat again, and that track what is going on around you and within you. Cravings can arise thanks to hormones and chemicals circulating through your body. Suddenly, you are hungry even though you are not quite sure what tipped you off. This is one of the most surprising insights about your habits. You don't need to be aware of the cue for a habit to begin. You can notice an opportunity and take action without dedicating conscious attention to it. This is what makes habits useful. It's also what makes them dangerous. As habits form, your actions come under the direction of your automatic and non-conscious mind. You fall into old patterns before you realize what's happening, unless someone points it out to you. You may not notice that you cover your mouth with your hand whenever you laugh, that you apologize before asking a question, and that you have a habit of finishing other people's sentences. And the more you repeat these patterns, the less likely you become to question what you are doing and why you are doing it. I once heard of a retail clerk who was instructed to cut up empty gift cards after customers had used up the balance on the cards. One day, the clerk cashed out a few customers in a row who purchased with gift cards. When the next person walked up, the clerk swiped the customer's actual credit card, picked up the scissors, and then cut it in half, entirely on autopilot, before looking up at the stunned customer and realizing what had just happened. Another woman I came across in my research was a former preschool teacher who had switched to a corporate job. Even though she was now working with adults, her old habits would kick in, and she kept asking co-workers if they had washed their hands after going to the bathroom. I also found the story of a man who had spent years working as a lifeguard and would occasionally yell "walk" whenever he saw a child running. Over time, the cues that spark our habits become so common that they are essentially invisible. The treats on the kitchen counter, the remote control next to the couch, the phone in our pocket, our responses to these cues are so deeply encoded, it may feel like the urge to act comes from nowhere. For this reason, we must begin the process of behavior change with awareness. Before we can effectively build new habits, we need to get a handle on our current ones. This can be more challenging than it sounds, because once a habit is firmly rooted in your life, it is mostly non-conscious and automatic. If a habit remains mindless, you can't expect to improve it. As the psychologist Carl Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. The habit scorecard. The Japanese railway system is regarded as one of the best in the world. If you ever find yourself riding a train in Tokyo, you'll notice that the conductors have a particular habit. As each operator runs the train, they proceed through a ritual of pointing at different objects and calling out commands. When the train approaches a signal, the operator will point it and say, "Signal is green." As the train pulls into and out of each station, the operator will point out at the speedometer and call out the exact speed. When it's time to leave, the operator will point at the timetable and state the time. Out on the platform, the employees are performing similar actions. Before each train departs, staff members will point along the edge of the platform and declare, "All clear." Every detail is identified, pointed at, and marked aloud. This process, known as pointing and calling, is a safety system designed to reduce mistakes. It seems silly, but it works incredibly well. Pointing and calling reduces errors by up to 85% and cuts accidents by 30%. The MTA subway system in New York City adopted a modified version that is point only, and within 2 years of implementation, incidents of incorrectly berthed subways fell 57%. Pointing and calling is so effective because it raises the level of awareness from a non-conscious habit to a more conscious level. Because the train operators must use their eyes, hands, mouth, and ears, they are more likely to notice problems before something goes wrong. My wife does something similar. Whenever we are preparing to walk out the door for a trip, she verbally calls out the most essential items in her packing list. I've got my keys, I've got my wallet, I've got my glasses, I've got my husband. I think this is very important. I'm a very forgetful person, and I have been trying pointing and calling. It really sounds and feels silly, but it actually does work. Because I've also read a lot where people say, when you don't say, like, let's say you read something, and you don't say it with your mouth, or you don't write it down, you are more likely to forget it. Or somebody gives you an instruction. There are people with good memories, but not all of us are like that. But because we are human, we are more likely to forget something if we don't voice it out, or if we don't write it down. So pointing and calling is one of, or maybe because I didn't know anything else before that, I just thought my brain will remember and I always forget. It's like saying, okay, I'm going to the shop and I'm going to buy toiletries, meat, and snacks. And then you get to the store, and because you didn't write the grocery list down, you are more likely to forget stuff. And then when you get back home, you're like, shucks, I forgot to buy maybe snacks. So pointing and calling is very important, or writing things down in that type of instance. The more automatic a behavior becomes, the less likely we are to consciously think about it. And when we are done with something, And when we've done something 1,000 times before, we begin to overlook things. We assume that the next time will be just like the last. We are so used to doing it that we've always done that we don't stop to question whether it's the right thing to do at all. Many of our failures in performance are largely attributable to a lack of self-awareness. One of our greatest challenges in changing habits is maintaining awareness of what we are actually doing. This helps explain why the consequences of bad habits can sneak up on us. We need a point and call system of our personal lives. That's the origin of the habit scorecard, which is a simple exercise you can use to become more aware of your behavior, to create your own, make a list of your daily habits. Here's a sample of where your list might start, right? You say, wake up, turn off the alarm clock, check my phone, go to the bathroom, weigh myself, take a shower, brush my teeth, floss my teeth, put a deodorant, hang up towel to dry, get dressed, make a cup of tea. Once you have a full list, look at each behavior and ask yourself, is this a good habit or a bad habit or a neutral habit? If it is a good habit, write plus next to it or positive. If it is a bad habit, write minus or negative. If it is a neutral habit, write equals to. For example, the list above might look like this. Wake up, it's neutral, write equals to. Turn off the alarm, neutral, write equals to. Check my phone, negative. You guys, we've gotten so used to the first thing that we do when we wake up is check our phones. I don't know why, and that's something that I'm fighting right now, and it's been 3 days, and it's actually going well. Go to the bathroom, it's neutral, so equals to. Weigh myself, it's positive. I don't know how positive that is, but it's positive. I don't weigh myself. Take a shower, positive. Brush my teeth, positive. Floss my teeth, positive. Put on a deodorant, positive. Hang up towel to dry, neutral. Get dressed, neutral. Make a cup of tea, positive. The marks you give to a particular habit will depend on your situation and your goal. For someone who's trying to lose weight, eating a bagel of peanut butter every morning might be a bad habit. For someone who's trying to bulk up and add muscle, the same behavior might be a good habit. It all depends on what you are working toward. Scoring your habits can be a bit more complex for another reason as well. The labels good habit and bad habit are slightly inaccurate. There are no good habits or bad habits. There are only effective habits, that is, effective at solving problems. All habits serve you in some way, even the bad ones, which is why you repeat them. For this exercise, categorize your habits by how they will benefit you in the long run. Generally speaking, good habits will have net positive outcomes. Bad habits have net negative outcomes. Smoking a cigarette may reduce stress right now. That's how it's serving you, but it's not a healthy long-term behavior. If you are still having trouble determining how to rate a particular habit, here is a question I like to use. Does this behavior help me become the type of person I wish to be? Does that habit cast a vote for or against my desired identity? Habits that reinforce your desired identity are usually good. Habits that conflict with your desired identity are usually bad. As you create your habit scoreboard or scorecard, there is no need to change anything at first. The goal is to simply notice what is actually going on. Once you observe your thoughts and actions without judgment or internal criticism, observe your thoughts and actions without judgment or internal criticism. Don't blame yourself for your faults. Don't praise yourself for your success. If you eat a chocolate bar every morning, acknowledge it almost as if you were watching someone else. Oh, how interesting that they would do such a thing. If you binge eat, simply notice that you are eating more calories than you should. If you waste time online, notice that you are spending your life in a way that you do not want to. The first step to changing bad habits is to be on the lookout for them. If you feel like you need extra help, then you can try pointing and calling in your own life. Say out loud the action that you are thinking of taking and what the outcome will be. If you want to cut back on your junk food habit but notice yourself craving another cookie, say out loud, I'm about to eat this cookie, but I don't need it. Eating it will cause me to gain weight and hurt my health. Hearing your bad habits spoken aloud makes the consequences seem more real. It adds weight to the action rather than letting yourself mindlessly slip into an old routine. This approach is useful even if you are simply trying to remember a task on your to-do list. Just saying out loud, tomorrow I need to go to the post office after lunch, increases the odds that you'll actually do it. You're getting yourself to acknowledge the need for action, and that can make all the difference. The process of behavior can always start with awareness. Strategies like pointing and calling and the habit scorecard are focused on getting you to recognize your habits, acknowledge the cues that trigger them, which makes it possible to respond in a way that benefits you. So for the second part of the year, we are creating good or effective habits, right? And this is where we start. Today, if you finish this video, I need you to take your journal and write down all your habits. So write down let's say your daily routine. When you wake up and look at yourself. Like, one thing we need to do is to be conscious of our actions. That's where we're trying to go, right? That's what we're trying to achieve, to be aware of the things that we are doing, because if we are aware, then we'll be able to change them. So I wake up, and the first thing, I don't even go to the bathroom. No matter how much pressed I am, I pick up my phone, and then after picking up my phone and I'm done stalking people on Instagram and they're making me depressed, then I can I go and I pee. After I pee, I come back and I sit again on my phone to look at people's lives, to pressurize myself with social media. And then after that, you wake up. When you wake up late and you wake up tired, and the first thing you do is to take chocolate bar out of your fridge. And then after, you're like, okay, you know what, I'm gonna take a walk, which is a positive thing. I'm gonna take a walk and then I'm gonna come back, and instead of working, then you decide, you know what, let me just take a nap. And then you take a nap, and then the nap becomes a full session of sleeping, which is about 8 hours. And then once you do that, then put your positive, negative, and equals to which are neutral and which are not. And every single thing that you do that you know you would like to change, make sure that you point and call, or you call it out loud, that I'm about to eat a chocolate, and chocolate has too much sugar and it's bad for me, and I've ate 100 chocolates in the past 3 days, right? Once you say that out loud, you will realize just how bad that thing is for you. And over again, you will start doing less and less of that thing, because you know that that's something that you're trying to change, instead of just internalizing it. Speak it out loud. Speak life into your life. That's another thing. Speak life. Speak positive things into your life. Speak life into your life. Speak out the negative things, though, so that they can also leave you alone. They must leave you alone, guys. We are creating good habits, and this is where we start on. We start small. Just write your routine down. Put positive, negative, equals to neutral things next to them, and everything that we need to change, we are going to change. So everything that has a negative attached to it, we are going to change over the course of the few weeks. Okay, the chapter summary says, with enough practice, your brain will pick up on the cues that predict certain outcomes without consciously thinking about it. So, like I said, now I have water bottles everywhere, all my bedrooms. Okay, the only place I don't have is the bathroom, but everywhere I have a water bottle, and I find myself just picking the bottle up and drinking water because it's there. Water stayed in the fridge for the longest time, and I barely ever opened the fridge, you guys. So I didn't drink water because of that. It needs to be somewhere where I can see it as a cue, right? Once our habits become automatic, we stop paying attention to what we are doing. And that's what we're trying to change. We have to be aware of everything that we are doing. That's why we have to call them out, and we have to ask ourselves, okay, what am I trying to achieve by doing this? When you wash your dishes, be present. What are you trying to achieve? And if you're that person who wastes water, maybe then you will realize, actually, when I wash dishes, I actually waste a lot of water. The process of behavior change always starts with awareness. You need to be aware of your habits before you can change them. That's why we have to write them down. You might forget some of the things because right now you're not aware of the things you do automatically. But everything that you do right now, starting now, you're going to have to try and be aware that you're doing it. So that's what we're going to do. Start our awareness process of our behaviors. Pointing and calling raises your level of awareness from a non-conscious habit to a more conscious level by verbalizing your actions. And then lastly, the habit scorecard is a simple exercise you can use to become more aware of your behavior. That's what I've been saying. We are going to do a scorecard. I have done mine. Now it's your turn. I have done mine and I'm currently working on those things. We're going to give it a week. And then next week, we're going to come back with another chapter and see how we move on with this. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And you guys, please, please, please always find time to read books. I'm definitely not gonna read the whole book, and there are certain things that are so important in this book that you might miss. So please, when you get a chance, try and get yourself copies of any book. Honestly, share them on social media, guys. I'm always looking out for books. I'm always looking out for lessons. So I'm sure there are more other people like me who are going to watch and get your stuff. So yeah, thank you so much, you guys. Have a brilliant, brilliant, brilliant week. Happy Monday, and to a beautiful rest of the week. Bye.